It's a little crazy with the kid and the dog.
I can't get my video to work today.
That makes me look adventurous.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. I know. Oh no.
That was the worst ever. That was so bad.
Hi, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's the shorter version, but we're pretty proud of it. Welcome to another session of Bankruptcy Week. My name is Spencer, and I will be your MC for this session. Also, this is the happy hour session, so I had a little flair. Thank you very much. I was pretty excited about that. Let me bring up our slides here. Very good. There we are. So this is social media and law firm culture with Jordan Couch. I wanted to go through a couple of housekeeping notes with everybody. This might be familiar to some of you, but if you're just now joining us, first of all, we do have this chat function. It should be, I think, on the right-hand side for everybody. And you can use that to interact with fellow attendees, communicate any technical issues. We've noticed that that Chrome works best, and also to close out all of your windows, and hopefully that'll keep your internet from slowing down at all. Also, there will be a Q&A, so if you have any questions for the speaker, you can just add them in the questions tab. And I don't think there's any polls for this session, but if you see any, go ahead and feel free to interact with those. And also, we have a code of conduct. It probably goes without saying, just use inclusive language, no threats or intimidation, and obviously no offensive language, excuse me. And so that brings us to our session. After I have a couple of stats for you. So once again, this might be familiar information if you've attended a couple of other sessions, but just, on a note, since the pandemic started, 3 million people, for whatever reason, may not be able to pay their mortgage. And in addition to that, 1 in 4 small businesses have shut down. It's about 24%, the last figure I got. And about 22 million people have filed for unemployment. And during the last recession, bankruptcy filings went up 74%. So once again, you may have already heard this, but a lot of the experts are expecting a tsunami of bankruptcies coming. So if you're new to bankruptcy or you're getting back into it, that's why we have these sessions together with experienced professionals like Jordan to try and help grow your firm, grow your business, or grow as an individual. So the introduction. Jordan L. Couch of Palace Law. Jordan is a partner and culture ambassador at Palace Law in University Place, Washington. His practice focuses on workers' compensation and personal injury litigation, just like my dad. And in his spare time, Jordan likes to work with local, state, and national bar associations to help others build a more client-centric law firm. As a note, his Twitter is at Jordan L. Couch, and he's been a member since August 2015. And I wanted to add another piece of movie trivia. I believe Jurassic World was the top of the box office. It probably doesn't help a lot of you, but we're going to invite Jordan onto the stage now. Should just take a couple of seconds, hopefully sooner.
Hello,
Yes.
hello.
Jordan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to be here for this happy hour chat. I join you with my water because it's 2 o'clock here.
Attaboy. Hey, I'm hydrating myself, so that's all right. I'm gonna get off stage here and I'll let you take it away.
All right, well, I'm going to pull up my slide deck here. As you said, I am Jordan Couch, and today I'm excited to talk to all of you about social media and firm culture. You may have gathered from my bio, these are two things that I care a lot about. So, over the next hour, I want to show you the value of both social media and firm culture. And I'm going to teach you how to use social media well, how to set goals, what platforms to use, and the kind of content to push out. And then I'm going to teach you how to build and use your firm culture. So, as you said before, I'm Jordan Couch. You can find me on social media, email me, let me know if you have questions that we can't get to today, but I'm going to try to answer all of your questions. Speaking of which, if you have questions, raise your hand, put it up there. I'm here to serve you today. So please let me know. Hopefully I'll get answers to them, but we're going to try to get to it. And will I get to the ethical concerns of social media and advertising? I'm going to touch on that a little bit, not get too detailed on it, but we'll definitely talk about ethics. And if there are specific questions, feel free to ask away. So we're going to start today talking about social media before we get into the firm culture thing, although as you'll see, they can overlap a lot. Why should lawyers be on social media? Why do I think every single lawyer needs to be on social media? This is the step where you tell the story to the right people in the right way. It's about having conversations with your potential clients. It's about getting out there. The reality is the old way of marketing, going to business meetings, things like that, going to the PTA, going to church, community centers, a lot of these things, even if they still exist, have moved online. The reality is social media is where so many of these conversations are happening now. Church groups are meeting on social media. Community centers have social media groups for the people that are members there. PTA groups do most of their communication through Facebook a lot of the time. This is where the conversations are happening. And so the question is not, should you be on social media? The question is, do you want to be the part of these conversations that are happening, or do you want to be left out? Now, I hear a lot of people push back on this when I tell them that every single lawyer needs to be on social media. And the common arguments I hear are, my clients aren't on social media. Well, even when someone refers, what I'll tell you about this is, the reality is 79% of Americans have a social media account. So odds are your clients are on social media. I will tell you that even in my practice, I do workers' compensation and personal injury. Most of my clients are in their, boomer-aged truck drivers and construction workers. They're the last people to have social media. A lot of them have flip phones, but most of them still have Facebook accounts. Most Americans are here. And the ones who don't have Facebook accounts, their wives do, and their wives look us up on social media. I hear people say, I don't get leads from social media. Now, first off, I ask you, how are you tracking that? Because what they say, studies show that you need at least 5 touches with someone before they're actually going to come in and use your service. And so even though the last thing they might see be that Google review, or the last thing might be that referral from a friend, there's a good chance that if you have a social media presence, odds are one of those 5 touches came from social media. Also, strong branding converts people to leads. The reality is, when someone tells you to go out and refer a friend, when a friend refers you to something, you're going to think about that, but you're also probably going to, look for names that you recognize. If a friend recommends to you to buy a car that you already know about and like, you might do that. But if a friend recommends of you to buy a car that you've never heard of, you're probably going to do a lot of research on that. Social media helps branding, and it helps converting leads that you get into actual clients. Because even if people aren't going to your Facebook, seeing your Facebook and deciding to come to you, if they know your Facebook, know who you are, and then they're pushed to you, that's how you convert leads. My clients are all referrals. I get this one a lot from attorneys telling me that their entire practice is referral based. And that's great. That's what something people should strive towards. But at the end of the day, referral potential clients still look you up. Every client we have in our office comes in and looks us up online in one way or another. Oftentimes they see our social media. When they're referred by a friend, they still go online and look up to see what that is. And you do this for yourself. If a friend says, hey, you should check out this restaurant, do you go there right away? Or do you also look them up online? If a friend says, hey, this product I bought on Amazon is great, do you look at the reviews on Amazon, or do you just skip over those, right? Just because you're referred doesn't mean clients aren't looking you up online and seeing your social media. Social media is a really easy way to do this. And also, connecting with potential clients isn't the only reason to be on social media. There are a lot of other things that are not just drawing in specific clients. For instance, building loyalty in your clients. And I want to give kind of an example about what that means. So Steve Pyle, this is him. He's one of the attorneys in our office. And he won an award for being trustworthy, which is one of our core values in our office. We'll talk about that more later on. And so we put up this simple post on social media showing Steve Pyle as, hey, he's trustworthy. Now, what happened after that is one of Steve's clients saw this and was so incredibly excited that they decided to write this long post up that is public for everyone in the world to see about how amazing of an attorney Steve Pyle is. You can't get better, publicity than that with that kind of client loyalty that you have, right? You're building people and drawing them in, making them more excited. And it didn't end there, because after this client posted this long review of how wonderful Steve is, another client decided, you know what, I can do better than that. I'm gonna write a poem about what an amazing attorney Steve is and post it online for everyone to see. These people deceived with a smile until they met the likes of Steve Pyle. They shrieked with fear with what they saw. One of Steve's clients wrote this about him just for fun. And this is the point where you always say, like, it doesn't get better than that. Except that it did, because after this happened, another client thought, I can write a better poem than that. And so they wrote a poem about how amazing Steve Pyle is and posted it on our Facebook page. And then another client wrote a poem about how amazing Steve Pyle is, and they posted that online. All of this because we took 10 seconds to put up a photo of Steve and say that he's a great person, led to our clients in our comments for days writing poems about what an amazing attorney Steve Pyle is. So this is a great way to kind of build loyalty in your clients. They're talking to each other, they're thinking about your firm, and they're coming back to you. I also think it's hard for people to understand just how expansive the reach of social media really is. I put up this from my Twitter analytics, this was 2 days ago. Over the last month, my tweets had been seen almost 30,000 times. I'd had individual tweets that topped over 2,000 multiple times. Now, I want you to think about that in the context of, imagine you were standing in front of a room of 500 people giving a talk with 500 people looking at you and listening to what you said. Most people would be a little bit intimidated by that, just a little bit. And what I'm telling you is that with social media, it's easy to have a random tweet I send out about my fishing experience this morning be seen by over 1,000 people. That is an incredibly powerful tool that I honestly think most lawyers don't quite recognize they have to just build their brand out there and get themselves in front of people. So, also, Twitter got me my job. You want to talk about marketing, building a network? Twitter is the reason I have the job that I have today. And people ask me about that, so I've included the tweet in here that tells the story. I got on Twitter, followed one person, he introduced me to another person, and to another person, went to an event I learned about on Twitter, and met the man who is now the other partner in my law firm, right? That happened to me entirely because of my Twitter presence. Social media is probably why I am here today. The people who invited me to speak here today, I first met on social media. Most of the other speakers that are presenting during this bankruptcy week, I first met on social media. So when you think about this, this is an incredibly powerful tool to jumpstart your career, to boost your brand, even if it's not specifically drawing clients into you. All right, got a few questions in here about the various social media tools. We're going to come up to that here soon on and talk about a lot of different ways to use social media tools. In fact, we're getting there right now. So how? How do you use social media? Well, the good news is there is an option for every personality out there. Whoever you are, there is a type of social media that will work for you. I took this little photo up from Blue Star Diner, although I've seen it a lot of places online that kind of breaks down some basic social media, right? There are different ways that each one is for. Twitter is mostly for short bursts, for communications, for posting content. Facebook is a lot about connecting with friends, sharing updates. Foursquare is about places. Instagram is all photo-based, so it's a lot of showing photos of the things that you're doing. YouTube is really good for showing videos of how-tos, providing informational videos, things like that. LinkedIn is often about connecting with other professionals, finding jobs. Pinterest is about a lot of like DIY stuff. Spotify is about music. Google Plus is the joke there. Even TikTok could be added on there right now. There are a lot of attorneys that are on TikTok that are marketing themselves and getting clients through TikTok now even. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on. So personally, I use, a couple of these different things. I use Twitter, I use Facebook, we use YouTube, we use LinkedIn, right? But I wouldn't tell you that you need to use all of these. The key is you need to figure out what works for you, try out different social media styles, and figure out which of these programs works for you and use that one. It's better to do it well than to do it all. And with each of these things, each of these platforms has both free and paid versions. Start with the free version. Decide what you're interested in, figure it out, play around, and then if you want to, start playing around with paid advertising. The advertising on a lot of these platforms to get you started is heavily targeted and extremely cheap, which is great for law firms who have specific clientele that they want and don't necessarily want to pay a lot of money for marketing. You can get your message in front of a lot of people. Connecting versus selling. Social media is social, right? The biggest problem I see with a lot of attorneys is when they get onto social media, they think they are on there as a firm, and that is it. That is not the case. They think that they're selling services. That is not the case. You are a human being, and you are going on there to be social, to connect with other people. So some things you can do to do that is just, one, be yourself. Have your own personal profile. Even if you have a firm profile, have a personal one as well that you use in the same way. In my office, we have multiple accounts that are used for various things. My partner and I have our personal accounts for a lot of these social media platforms, and we have Palace Law accounts for a lot of these platforms. Palace Law is focused more towards things that are interesting to our clients. Our personal ones are more focused towards things that are interesting to other attorneys, right? We can mix and match a lot of the times, but really we try to keep ourselves separate as much as possible so we can bring our own human elements to it, right? I have my own brand that is separate from the brand of Palace Law, which is separate from the brand of Patrick Palace, right? All these things can interplay a little bit. So there's a great, when I talk about connecting, what I'm talking about is, being social with people, being human with people, and offering value to them, not trying to sell yourself. There's a great line from Kevin O'Keefe, who's well known for LexBlog, blogging, social media. And he says, if you're doing social media to try to get clients, you're doing it wrong. But if you're doing it to try to help people, you're doing it right. And through that, you're going to get clients. So what does good use of social media look like? Find your zone, right? Like I said, look through all the different social media platforms and find out what really works for you. It will not be all of these. I have found Twitter is my favorite. It's what I'm on most of the time. It's what I like best. And I get a lot of value out of that because it's something I enjoy. I used to try to use Facebook and LinkedIn a lot. I didn't enjoy it. It was bad. I didn't like it. So I stopped using those as much. Be a human first. So many attorneys are an attorney first when it comes to their marketing. They are immediately thinking about the rules, the requirements, how to get clients in, what clients need to know. Be a human first. Just reach out to people on a human level and say, hi, how are you? Here I am. Here are the things that interest me. There was a question I saw in the chat about whether or not you should have professional profile photos or whether you should talk about politics things. Be yourself. If you are someone who cares about politics, post about politics. Because if you're someone who cares about politics and clients are coming to you who have very different politics to you, you're probably not going to get along with them very well and they're not going to like you very much. That's a bad start to that, right? Be yourself in your marketing and you'll get a lot better. As far as profile photos go, you all saw my opening profile for this slideshow, right? Be yourself. If you want to be if you are someone who believes in being extremely professional, then great. That's the kind of photo you should put out there. But if you're someone who believes in a little more fun and a little more laid back style to your law firm, if that's what your law firm is, then don't worry about having such a professional profile all the time in all of your social media. So offer valuable content. This is one of the key things, right? Don't just tell people to call you. Offer something of value to people that they can use because that's what draws people in. If you're just giving people information that they find useful and then later on they need an attorney for something along those lines, they're going to come to you first. And be consistent. Like I said, don't start with everything. Start small, start with 1 or 2 accounts and start posting on them, once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever really works for you, but be consistent so you get into a habit of it. When I got started on Twitter, and this can go for any social media, I didn't really know what I was doing. So I got on and I followed people that I looked up to, and I started paying attention to how they were tweeting, things they were putting out. And a lot of my first tweets were either retweeting them or posting an article I thought was interesting. It was very, formalized. It was just trying to be regular, trying to build something, trying to figure out what felt right for me. Now, most of my tweets are nonsense jokes and weird little legal tidbits that I find, or amazing things that my friends are doing that I want to promote for them, right? Start small and just build yourself up as you're going through this. But most importantly, I tell you to remember, social media is real life. Everything you're putting out there, think to yourself, would I do this if this person were standing in front of me? Or better yet, would I do this if 500 people were standing in front of me and I had the power to talk to all of them at once? If the answer is no, do not do it, because people tend to lose sight that social media is real and the consequences are terrible. And I'm going to give you a couple quick examples of this. This is a negative review someone received on their law firm website. Now, someone asked how to handle negative posts or posts from an adverse party, how to respond to them. The answer is be a human. If someone is unhappy with your service and they came to you and said, hey, I'm unhappy with your service, how would you respond? Hopefully you'd say, please tell me more about that. And let them share and let them explain themselves. And once they're done, you'd say, okay, here's what I think I can do to help that. And let's see if we can work this out. Social media is the same thing. Reach out to people in the same way, connect with them, talk to them, figure out what's going on. Do not, under any circumstances, post this, that this expletive deleted is not now and has never been a client of my firm. Same deal as before. This piece of expletive deleted has 12 hours to remove his review. If he doesn't, I will pay $200 to whoever can provide me the correct physical address of this person so that a lawsuit can be filed against him. Everyone, this is public. This is easily findable on the internet. It is permanent record in about 1 million places online right now, including news articles about this. Do not be this person. It is not good. It is bad. Do not do this. And it gets worse. The same attorney then posts this up on Twitter after he gets the address, going and threatening this person. These are not the things you would do to a human who came into your office unhappy with your service. Do not do it to someone online. And do not file lawsuits over bad reviews on social media. They don't go very well for people. Treat these people like the humans that they are. Reach out to them, communicate with them. And if there really are genuine problems, reach out to Facebook or Yelp or Google, wherever the bad review is, if it's an actual false review, and let them know. These companies do have an interest in not having false reviews show up on their website. So what does good usage look like? This is an Instagram post from Modern Law, Billy Tarasio's firm. This is a family law firm that does a lot of working with divorce. Obviously, a lot of people going through that have a lot of similar issues. And of course, the firm is only there to help people for the most part with getting a divorce. But that doesn't mean they can't offer value to people otherwise. So here she has a post about rebuilding your relationship with a child after divorce. After you're done with firm, here's some things you need to do, because she's helping this community. She's reaching out to them. She's not telling them to hire her. This is after they've already done that divorce thing. This is just, hey, this is something good for people out there. A couple other great tweets from friends of mine. Two different styles of this. One, Megan Xavier wrote an article about how to address negative and positive online reviews. She put it up and discussed it. Or sorry, this is a podcast. She put it up for people so that they could have that information. She is a malpractice attorney in California. This is information that is useful for people who are potential clients to her. She's helping them avoid becoming her clients. And then there's the more silly, like my friend Austin Madan in this post, where she just says Monday should be a verb, right? It's great, it's fun, it's engaging, and you get to see the human side of Asta a little bit. Which would you rather reach out to if you needed an attorney? These people that you've seen, or these people who just say, contact this lawyer. Here's some information about a lawyer. Contact them. Check out this website. That doesn't do. And they show that most people don't hire the firm. Even if it's a really big name firm, they don't go to that firm because of the firm. They go there because of an individual attorney that they know that they have a relationship with. So if your social media helps you build relationships with people, that's going to be a lot better for you. This is a great post from another firm on Instagram. This is just them showing their team who they are. So when you walk into the door, you already have a really good idea of who these people are. You feel like you know them. And see that little adorable little dog in that photo? That little dog has its own Instagram of the lawyer dog. And I guarantee you, I would go into that office just to see that dog, even if I didn't need their help, because that's adorable. And you're connecting with it. And you get to see the dog all over the office. We have a dog in our office, and we'll get to that later. And he comes in, and I will not tell you how many times people have seen dogs in our office on social media, and they come in and they meet with me, and I've signed them up, and they're about to go out the door after hiring me, and they say, wait, do I get to meet the dog? Is the black lab in today? And I love it, right? People are connecting with me on a human level, and they're reaching out to me because of that. Another example of some good social media that's a little less professional, but really fun. This is a criminal law firm that's just posting up kind of silly lawyerly jokes and memes for people to see on their Instagram account. It's great, it's engaging, people find it funny. He's got 55 people that are liking that post, and that's fun, right? That's the best way to kind of reach out to people and connect with them on this stuff. So what's helpful versus not helpful when it comes to social media? We talked about this a little bit. Be consistent, be human. What's not helpful is if you're trying too hard, right? If you're like really forcing yourself to get into social media, it's gonna come off as something you don't enjoy and it's not gonna look good. It's not gonna feel good. Soliciting, always a bad idea. Never ever tell people just to hire you on social media. Have people connect with you, offer them information for free, and if they need more help, they're gonna come to you because you're the person who gave them the information they needed. Just talking at people. Social media is about being social. Even, Instagram is really a communicative platform where people like to have conversations with each other back and forth, and trying to be quote unquote professional. What I mean by that is not that you can't be professional. You can be very professional in your social media profiles, but what you can't do is be what you think professional should look like, right? Be yourself. That's what it takes. Don't try to be professional and try to be something that you're not. That will end up never actually working for you. When you begin doing this, get organized. Before you start any new marketing adventure, and that's what social media really can be for your firm and should be for your firm, have a plan in place. Think about when you're going to post things up. This is actually taken from one of my friends. Her firm's social media marketing calendar has ideas for posts, how often they want to retweet things, how often they want to be on these platforms, how often they want to put up a new useful video on YouTube for their clients to see, how often they want to engage with new clients, that kind of stuff. They put up these plans for what to do, and they organize themselves. And then they keep track of it. The really nice thing about social media is all of these platforms offer free analytics on all the social media you send out. So you get to see how many people are clicking through to your website, how many people are connecting with you, how many people are seeing what you're putting out there. I showed you the Twitter thing that I got 2 days ago. It was easy to pull out that and update it. You get analytics like that on every single tweet, every Facebook post, every YouTube video, all to you for free. If you do paid versions, you can get even more analytics on this and see the types of clients that you're reaching. So track that information so you can see not just, am I getting a specific client from Facebook, but also, am I getting people engaging with me so that I'm building my branding and building a reputation out there for when clients do decide to come to me. And if you're really worried about getting leads from it, don't just track your leads in the normal way. Because the reality is most people aren't going to see you on social media and then call you to hire you, but they're going to know you from social media, see you somewhere else, and then call you to hire you. Or Google you and hire you, but they'll recognize you from social media. So one question we ask every client we sign up in our office that's really helpful with this is, don't just ask, where did you see us? Where did you see our phone number? Ask, where of all these places have you seen Palace Law before? And list every marketing effort, every social media platform that you have, and see what people say. How do you skirt the line between putting yourself out there as a legal professional and not giving legal advice to people that are not your clients they could potentially rely on? That's a question that was asked in the chat. And that's a great question. The truth is, I think this is something that gets blown out of proportion a little bit, but it is a serious concern. And the states can vary a little bit on this, but for the most part, I would suggest offer general advice only, general guidance, right? If you have a blog post that says, hey, here's what the law is in Washington surrounding auto collisions. It's not giving specific advice, it's just giving general information, and then you send that link out to people, that's a good way to do it. I also suggest not responding to people on an individual basis with advice. You can post general things, but if someone comes back to you and says, hey, you posted this article about auto collisions, I just got in an auto collision yesterday, what should I do? At that point in time, you might want to treat that like a potential client and not like you're giving general advice out to someone, because there you can start to build that reasonable assumption of a lawyer-client relationship. So if people are starting to connect with you that way, get them into your intake process, right? Don't speak with people individually on social media unless that is part of your intake process. And once you get organized, know that there are a lot of ways to help yourself out during this. There are tools that will help you make your social media a lot easier. Hootsuite is a tool that allows you to schedule your social media posts and push them out on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, right? So you can, instead of having to be on social media all the time, you can sit down for 1 hour on Monday morning, schedule your posts for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever you like, and have those run for the next week. And the next Monday you get in, you start out that, you set up your platform for that morning in an hour, and it runs the rest of the week. These can really help your process a little bit better. I'd suggest not getting too reliant on something like that, because you want to still be human and be able to respond to people. But Hootsuite is great for people starting out who are worried about trying to be consistent. HubSpot does a lot of similar things where it helps connect your social media in the same way. And Canva is one that just allows you to helps you create images. They find that posts with images on any platform are much more likely to get attention. So Canva allows you to make simple, professional looking images to accompany any post that you put up. All right. Given the time we have, we're going to start talking about firm culture a little bit more. And you're going to see a little bit how these two things interact. One question I'm going to go back to is I saw, what if your firm has multiple practice areas? It's so much easier to brand and put content out in one specific area. You're absolutely right. And if your firm is big enough and has multiple practice areas, you might want to have different social media accounts for each practice area. If not, think about internally what your brand is. And we're right about to start this. This is why I wanted to jump back to this culture. What is your firm beyond just your practice areas? Think about that, and using that, decide what kind of social media you want to put out there, what kind of branding you want to have for your firm. So firm culture, what is it? They say that your culture is where your vision, your values, your standards, your expectations, and your emotional aptitude all meet in a company. I find that to be really complex, so I like to simplify things for people. Your mission and your values, where those two things meet, that is the culture of your law firm. All the other things fall into play if you have those things correct, right? Your vision, your standards, your expectations. If your mission is your mission and your values are your values, then your standards and your expectations can follow that. And if standards are, not in line with your mission and your values, then you need to reassess what your values are or reassess what your standards are. So what is this? Your mission is your purpose, your goal. It is the reason that your firm exists. And your values are how you're going to achieve that mission. It's what matters to you. When I have people start working on building their own firm culture and identifying their firm culture, I have them start with two simple questions. Number one, why does your firm exist? Specifically, why did you set up this firm with these practice areas? Why does your firm exist? That's your mission. And number two, why should I hire you over the attorney down the street that has the exact same practice areas? What makes you special? Those are your values. Those are what you're bringing to the table that is unique to you at your firm. And as you think about those questions, why should I hire you over the attorney down the street? If the answer to that question is that you're a Harvard Law graduate, that's great, but you're wrong. If the answer is that you're rich, you're wrong. The truth is, in Washington state alone, I pulled up these statistics, and there are over 24,000 active attorneys in the state of Washington. More than 2,000 of them are family law attorneys. More than 3,000 of them are business law attorneys. More than 100 of them are aviation attorneys, and 96 attorneys in Washington state self-identify as sports attorneys. I'm not entirely sure what those last two are, but they're competing with 95 other people out there at least. All this leads to one unmistakable conclusion that I think lawyers really need to accept and embrace before they can really start thinking about their firm culture and why it's so important. No matter what your practice area is, your practice area isn't special, but you are. And that bears repeating. Your practice area is not special, you are. There are thousands of criminal attorneys in this country. None of it, you're probably better than some, but you're also worse than some, just based on statistics. I'd love to think that I'm the best workers' compensation attorney in the country and in Washington. I know for a fact that's not true. But what makes my firm special is the values we bring to the table when we are working on these things. Look at this attorney. That is branding, that is marketing, that is his culture coming out in his marketing, and that's amazing. I don't even know who this person is, but I want to meet him. And not just because my firm also sponsors a heavy metal concert, right? I just think that's cool. So how do you go about doing this? We started with those two questions that I mentioned earlier, but it takes a lot more time than that. This isn't a fast process that you can suddenly begin and you'll be done in a moment or a day. Identifying your firm culture, identifying your mission and your values takes a while. And I say identify for a very important reason. A lot of people want to prescribe their culture and their values on their firm. They want to say, this is going to be our mission, these are going to be our values, and that's the way it is. That will never work. You cannot force people to adopt values. What you can do is identify the values that your firm has and accent the ones that you like and try to minimize the ones that you don't like. Build a team. This is not something that you can do alone. In fact, where prescribing happens most often is if one person decides, I'm going to sit down and think about what the value of my firm is and what the missions of my firm is. You will undoubtedly end up choosing the things that you want to be the mission of your firm, the things that you want to be the values of your firm, not the things that are. Even if you're a solo practitioner, build a team when you start thinking about what is my mission and what are my values. Talk to your friends, talk to people who know your brand, talk to your clients. Clients love to be brought in on the conversation and to be part of the process of helping your firm do better and be better. A lot of people I find are afraid to talk to their clients, to share ideas with their clients, to test things with clients. I will tell you, having tested dozens of projects in our firm with clients, having polled our clients on a number of matters throughout the life of their cases, they love it. The clients who like our firm are engaged, are happy to be part of it, are happy to be heard, know that we're trying to work for them, and they're excited about it. The clients who are upset when we try to solicit their feedback on these things are the clients that were already extremely upset with us. And it helps us identify that so we can fix that problem. So build a team however you can. Work with other people in your office and get them all together and put everything you can think of up on a board or a document that you can share, right? Just put every idea you have up on there. Don't say, no, that doesn't seem right. If someone puts out the idea, put it up there and think about it, right? Just let it get wild, crazy, chaotic, exciting. That's what it should look like when you're working on this, right? And it's going to take a while, but that's what, no easy task is, ever worthwhile, right? So as you're doing that and you've got all these crazy ideas up on the wall, the next thing to do is look at those and start thinking, okay, what do I think is most important? What do I think is least important? What are the things that I like as values that I want to accent? And what are the things that I don't like as values? Maybe we should try to find ways to minimize. And let me give you an example of that. The Palace Law example, that's my firm. At Palace Law, a few years ago, we decided to sit down and do this exact exercise. So we started with, we are a workers' compensation and personal injury firm. We help injured people in need. So what is our mission? Well, our mission is to help the injured in every community. Right now, we're only in Washington, but our goal is to help everyone. That's what we want to do. We don't say no to people who are injured if we believe we can help them. And how do we go about doing that? What are our values? Our values are to live well, to do what we love, to do the right thing, to be team players, to be relentless, persistent, and self-motivated, to be innovative, to be trustworthy, and to be our real, unique, diverse, authentic selves. So this is what it looks like, right? And these were not, as you can kind of see, some things got paired together, creative, innovative, adaptable, were multiple things that different people put up that we kind of brought together to say, that's really kind of one thing that we're trying to encapsulate. We're relentless, persistent, self-motivated. That's one thing we're trying to encapsulate. And we identified these and said, these are the things that we really want to highlight in our team and to build up. And actually, this process is ongoing. You see all of these, but it actually began with 7. And I hate to tell you, just because you do this one day, get it all sorted out, doesn't mean you're done. This is an ongoing process. Every year, at least, our management team gets together and we poll the entire office and ask about the values and ask about the mission and say, are these still our values? And after the first year, we found out that a lot of people on the team were saying, no, one thing this firm does really well and focuses on is living well, right? Having a good work-life fit, having kids in the office, having dogs in the office, having whatever we need to live our lives well, to exercise, having a shower in the office, we can do that at lunch breaks, right? These things. And so we added live well to our core values of the firm. It's an ongoing process, but that's what it starts to look like. So that's how you do this. So the question is next, what do you do with this, right? You've got your firm, you've got your values. There are a couple great things you can do with this, both externally and internally. And since we talked about marketing and social media earlier, we're going to start by talking about the externally. What you can do with this culture, with this firm values and mission is so fun and exciting, right? First off, a lot of people were asking about how do you brand yourself? How do you deal with, your professional life? What's the persona you want to have out there? What if you have a firm with a lot of different practice areas? How do you narrow down your branding on social media? Well, figure out what your firm's core values and missions are, and then market you. Instead of just marketing a firm, put out your values. Let people see that. Shout your culture. We regularly post on all of our social media with those same graphics, our core values, and just talk about what they mean to us. My goal is that every single potential client that calls me ever doesn't call me because a friend they heard about, or because I'm somewhere on the line of attorneys they were calling trying to find someone to help you. I want everyone to call me because I know Palace Law is a firm that is relentless, persistent, self-motivated, and trustworthy. Those values fit with my values, and I wanted to hire you because of that. Because that's how you get happy clients in who connect with you. That's how you get the right people that you're marketing to. Because if people see my values and decide they want to hire me, I know we're a good fit already. It simplifies a lot of that process. So shout your culture. I already talked about this example earlier. That post we did of Steve Pyle, that was because he won an award for being trustworthy in our office. And that's how that whole process began. Clients thought, yeah, Steve really is trustworthy. That value connects with me, and I see that value in Steve Pyle. And that's how the chain of poems about how amazing Steve Pyle is began. It began with marketing our firm culture. And this is a great point to touch on as well. When you have your firm culture, it's not something that can be static. You have to be thinking about it. So this presentation of Steve was part of something we do every month, where we pick one of our core values. We gather everyone in a room together at the beginning of the month, talk about what that value means to us, and then all month long, people send in nominations, stories they saw of their teammates exhibiting that value and doing it really well. And at the end of the month, we gather everyone back in the room again together, and we give out an award to someone who we felt exhibited that value best, had the best story around with that, right? Marketing you, right? Selling you, not legal help. One of our values is living well. So if Patrick and I decide to ditch work for a morning and go fishing instead, we don't hide from that. We post that up because that's part of what our core values as our office is. And I will tell you that far more than any advice we give, far more than any tips we give, any Supreme Court case rundowns, any like traffic advice we give, photos of Patrick and I fishing get tons and tons of hits on our social media. Our clients comment on it, they like it. Even clients that know that I'm ignoring their calls because I'm on a river fishing, see that post and like it and get excited about it. Because I'm selling myself, not legal help. Every workers' compensation firm in Washington, for the most part, can offer the exact same legal help I can. But they can't offer what my firm offers. They can't offer my values. They can't offer my mission. If one of your values is to live well, maybe you create an entire social media account on Instagram for the animals and pets of your office, and you call it Palace Paw, and you create fake titles for them like Associate Paw Attorney and the cat attorneys and a chinchilla law clerk and the Department of Human Resources, right? These are fun things that clients engage with and love. I told you, I have clients coming to our office regularly wondering if they get to meet the dog. This Great Dane is famous with our clients. They come back, they're loyal, they're excited to be with us, they're excited to talk to us, all because of this. And you know, I built this almost a year ago, and I told my boss I was going to get his dog more followers than him. And I'm not saying you should follow it, but I am saying it's Palace Paw with an underscore. But look how wonderful it is, right? What's amazing about this, and this really blew up when everyone had to kind of retreat into the pandemic and when our office started having to work with everyone remote, the Palace Paw Instagram has done excessively well because of this, because everyone is home with their animals all the time. And talk about building culture in your firm. I think I have had multiple posts of pets from every single team member of our entire office. Almost 30 people, all of them sending me multiple photos of their pets to have them up on Palace Paw because they all get so excited about this. Our team members, from our receptionist to the managing partner, are all excited to be marketing this firm, to be speaking about the things we do and be excited about being part of this. That's really fun. And you can strengthen relationships. Begin at the beginning with your clients. So when I talk about strengthening relationships, I'm going to give you a little statistic on this. If you read the Clio Legal Trends report that came out, the average NPS score for most attorneys is around 25. When I talk about strong relationships, and Net Promoter Score, for those who don't know, is just a measure of how likely your clients are to refer you to their friends. So when I talk about strong relationships, our NPS score, since we started measuring it 4 years ago, has never dropped below 60. Most companies strive to be above 50. Anything positive is good, and we've been above 60 the entire time. We've been as high as like 93, I think, for a 6-month period. These are strong relationships we're building with our clients, and it begins at the very beginning. You saw that poster Steve was standing next to of one of our core values. Those posters are up all over our office. And in the main lobby and in the main conference room, we have posters that have all 8 of our core values up on the walls, so that everyone who walks into our office knows what our core values are. Even if they didn't look us up online before, they know when they come in. And when I sit down and talk to clients, we talk about what these core values are, what they mean to me. And I ask the clients to think about that before they decide to hire me. And I'll tell you a great story that begins with this. It begins with empowering your clients to use these, core values that you have so you can have better relationships with your clients. I had a client come to me. I'm going to call him Tony Stark because it's my story. I get to tell it how I want. And when he came to me, he had fired his previous attorney. Red flag number one. He had fired his previous attorney twice. That's red flag number 3. And at the end of our intake, when I was talking to him, I said, so I want to know, just so I don't want you to hire me and then have to fire me as well. I want to make sure we're on the same page. Why did you fire your previous attorney? And he said, oh, he didn't communicate with me enough. For those of you who've had that conversation before, that's red flag number 4 to me. And I'm starting to think, okay, maybe this is a bad idea. But being my true self, instead of just turning him away, I said, tell me more about that, Tony Stark. And I let him talk and I let him explain what communication meant to him and what the issues he had with communication were. He felt like he should have been getting a call every week and he wasn't. He felt like he wasn't being responded to when he had questions. He felt like no one was getting back to him in a timely manner. And I said, okay. And I said, Mr. Stark, I want you to look at the core values on the wall there. Communication is not up there. Speedy responses is not up there. And I want you to think about that because those aren't my core values. I am relentless. I am persistent. I am self-motivated. I do the right thing. I am trustworthy. If you ask me questions, I will be open and honest with you as I am being right now. And he did. And we talked about this. And I said, but here's what I will do. If you call me, I'm not going to answer the phone. I'm in meetings a lot. Sometimes I'm giving talks from my living room. I don't answer the phone most of the time, but if you leave me a message, I will try to get back to you within 24 hours. If I'm fishing, it's going to be 48. And I said, but here's the deal. You're not hiring Jordan Couch. You're hiring Palace Law. If there's ever an emergency, call the front desk and say, this is an emergency, and they will either find someone who can help you or they will find me. And he said, okay. He decided to hire me knowing that. And I never once got a complaint from him about communication. And the time we worked together, we became good friends. We get along. He still refers cases to our office because at the beginning of that conversation, I told him what was going on. And when I talk about empowering your clients, I talk about telling them to hold you accountable. And I do that with every client that comes into our office before they leave, before they sign a contract. I say, I want you to hold me accountable to these 8 core values, to this mission. And if you think I'm not following through with them, tell me. And I had another client come back to me one time about a month after I had started working on his case. And at the beginning of my conversation with him, when I'd worked on his case, he kept telling me that he really wanted someone who was a fighter, someone who was aggressive. And I stopped him and I said, that's not up on the core values there. I said, I'm relentless, I'm persistent, I'm doing the right thing, but I'm not a fighter. I don't think that's a good way to get things done. And that's just me personally. And if you want a fighter, I can refer you to someone else. But that's not who I am. He decided to hire me. Well, a month later, he comes in because he wanted to sit down and talk to me about a couple things. And I said, that's fine. And he said, so first off, I feel like you're not being aggressive enough. And I said, tell me more. And we talked about it. And I let him explain. And I said, okay, well, it's not on the wall, is it? I told you that was going to happen. And he said, yeah, you're right. I know. It's frustrating. And I said, it is frustrating sometimes when you're, battling a case. But this is how we're working on it. Do you agree with the strategy? And he said, yes. And he said, there was something else too. My wife and I were looking at your social media, not the Palace Law social media, my personal social media. And I said, okay. And he said, and I was a little bothered by some of the things you have on there. They don't feel very professional to me. And I said, oh, can you tell me about that? Tell me more. And he told me some of the posts. And I said, so is your problem that I'm doing these things? And he says, no, I don't have a problem with you doing these things at all, but I have a problem with you. I feel like it's not professional of you to be posting these things on your social media. And I, of course, said, tell me more about that. And he did, and we talked about it. And after I let him tell me everything he had to say, I said, well, thank you for telling me. But I got to tell you, I appreciate this. And, maybe I can tailor some of these, but the reality is that's who I am. And you saw that one of my core values is being my real, authentic, unique, diverse self. And I'm not going to hide that from people because the reality is you came to me and you're trusting with me with the most important thing that is happening in your life right now. You're trusting me with your care, with your health, with your safety, with your finances. I'm asking you to trust me with all of that. And because of that, I don't want to put on a professional front to make you trust me, to make you feel like I'm more secure. I want you to know who I really am, because you should know who you're trusting with your life. We ended the conversation. He went away. 6 months later, he still gets along with us. We get a great result to his case. That's the power of having your culture and your values defined. That's the power of taking this time to really think about who you are, who your firm is, and what you want your firm to be, and advocating for that with your clients, speaking about it with your team, speaking about it with your clients, and using that to build a better firm. And you can see how the social media interplays with that, right? You can be yourself on social media, you can get who you are, and you can use your culture to help boost some of these posts and define what some of these posts and what some of the social media should be. That said, I've got a little bit of time left, and I'd love to answer some questions on firm culture or social media if we have the time on this.
Hey, thank you so much. Hey, can you hear me right now?
I can.
Perfect. That's always very, very important when presenting. Thank you so much for the entire seminar. You covered so much information in a short amount of time. I didn't think you could do it, and you did. So we really
I apologize.
it.
Feel free to reach out to me if you have more questions. I know I kind of just fire hose everyone there for a moment, but
no, you were doing so well with answering questions live that we were really able to whittle it down to just to a couple of questions here. I'm pulling them up on my phone. I feel like
I do that. I saw one comment on there that I did make kind of a gendered comment of a lot of my clients. And I wanted to say that is, thank you for pointing that out to the person who did that. I appreciate that. You are absolutely right that I do that. It was an experiential thing that I've had with a lot of my clients, but you're absolutely right that it's not always the case. In fact, I do often see it the other way around as well.
In addition to that, so one question that we were looking at was if we have an individual or a firm that's just starting out with social media, would you recommend one form of social media, or do they kind of want to try and touch on multiple forms to start out? So if you're just starting out,
I think if you're just starting out, you ought to try a couple different things and see what works for you, right? Because the reality is if you start with one, you're going to get into that sunk cost fallacy of like, I've spent so many hours on Facebook now, I really don't want to switch to something else, even though I hate Facebook, right? Start by just kind of observing. Look at the platforms, create an account for yourself. You don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to have a photo up on it. Just create an account and just kind of take a look at what's going on there. Look out to people you look up to in that community and see if they're on there and see what they're doing and if that's something you enjoy. So kind of do a little research that way. And then once you start actually using it, I'd say pick one of those that appeals to you most, or two, and start with those one or two and start using those to build those out.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. The another question, and you, I mean, really you covered like it feels like a little bit of every question at some point, but kind of something we wanted to look back on, maybe retouch on, maybe expand on. There was a question about how you respond and handle the negative posts. I know you showed us a bad example, and then we kind of started to go into, you know, better ways that you can handle it. Have you noticed any really good examples, anything that someone might be able to follow it as like a template to positively respond to those kinds of comments?
Yeah, so, you know, I didn't have a photo of it because the reality is there's not much to the good responses because, you know, someone asked about the ethical obligations. Even if a client is railing you online, you cannot talk about that representation in a public forum at all. So there aren't a lot of good examples of someone really responding because the basic response is, you know, if someone does this on social media, you say, I'm really sorry you feel that way. I'd love to try to fix this and work with you on this. Can you please contact me in private so we can discuss this further? Right? Don't ask them to take the review down in public because that just looks like you're fishing for something. Don't fight with them. Don't bring up facts. Just say, I'm really sorry you feel that way. Validate how they're feeling. Acknowledge that and then say, I'd like to try to do more with this and reach out to them. And if they don't want to talk to you after that, there's nothing you can do about that, right? But at least you've tried.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of the kill them with kindness kind of plan. But so I'm tucking back in here. I'm looking. I'm trying to see. It feels like we've covered a lot. We don't have a lot of questions that you didn't touch on one way or another. So any closing remarks, and also in case. We want to make sure that we thank you once again. This was one of the top 2 seminars that I have covered as an MC. No need to go back and see how many I've covered. And I also want to make sure that we touch on the future seminars that we have. It looks like our next one will be tomorrow at 11 a.m., Business Bankruptcies with Tara. And, once again, we really appreciate you being here. Unless I get any more questions, let me see. Can we make it? Yep.
Oh, I saw one on there. If you have a big following on Instagram or an influencer in a different field, should you use a separate account for the firm, even if you're solo? I think that really comes down to a personal taste. If you think the two sides of yourself, the two sides of your business can be linked, link them, right? That's a great way to just kind of expand your firm quickly. If you think that they really are two separate things you'd like to keep separate, probably keep them separate. But thank you so much for having me. This is really fun. And honestly, if people have questions that come up later on, every social media, I'm Jordan L. Cash, jordan@palo.com. I love talking about this stuff. So yeah, I'm happy to answer questions anytime.
Lots of great information. Thank you so much for your time. And I will follow you on Twitter.
Bye.
All right.